Okay, great. No, please go ahead. You're the guest of honor. So, we are in this era of cloud and AI. I think as we are talking about cloud in 2024, it's not about do we need cloud. I think we've gone past that stage of having that conversation over the last 5, 7, 10 years. And I think we firmly established that cloud is going to be pivotal. It has been pivotal, and it is going to be a pivotal way of acquiring, managing, delivering technology services to drive digital innovation and transformation capabilities. In fact, cloud has enabled organizations, it has helped to bring down the barriers across industries and help redefine the competitive landscape. So clearly, cloud has been a big, I would say, an important technology that has reshaped the technology industry. But at the same time, there are a lot of challenges that come with it as well. And what I want to do is, Dipta, since you represent AWS, which has really been um, the key underpinning for driving this the shift to the cloud. But at the same time, as we talk about cloud, there are a lot of challenges. There are a lot of things that every organization needs to understand and prepare better to be able to leverage this technology. And from an infrastructure, application, and data standpoint, what are the challenges as we stand in 2024 that every organization needs to start thinking, or if they're not already thinking, they should be thinking about, okay, to truly leverage the value of cloud?
Yeah, I think just good evening to everyone, and thanks for having me in the panel, Rajnish, and thanks, Anish, for that. I think to answer your question, what we find typically the customers that we work with, I essentially work with all the fintech customers, the large fintech customers of India, and what we find that organization to strengthen their security and the cyber resilience posture, they are focusing on three key areas. The first thing is that they are investing on building the technical skills, that is either it is a rescaling or it is the rehiring of their team or within their team to essentially build up two or three areas of competency. One is essentially around the security practices.
Sure.
The second part is the resiliency, and specifically around responding to the being resilient when there is a sort of a breach or a cyber attack that is being happening or being progressed. The third part that I see is that the number of the teams that are coming forward, they are putting in a quite a number of automation process. That means I find that the organization are moving out from a significant amount of a manual activity to a set of a automated sort of a way in which through which they are managing the posture check of their workloads that are running in cloud. They are implementing newer tools which can help them to better detect the security breaches that are happening and then take a control, both preventive and retro type of a control. That's one part. That's one sort of a area that I find organization investing in. The second part that I find, and to the majority of the CISOs in the room, what I find, at least within the broader FSI space, is that there is a central CISO department which is quite empowered. And many a times this CISO department have a reporting line which is outside the CTO. Okay. And what I also find is a security strategy that is coming forward. And the security strategy is where probably multiple teams are contributing, trying to make it more cohesive and trying to make it more relevant for the context and the line of the business in which the organization is operating. So I think a combination of technical skilling and a combination of a rightful security strategy with an empowered CISO organization are the changes which the organization are doing to essentially respond to the emerging changes on the security landscape. So that's how I.
Sure. So, but when you talk about resiliency, what are you talking about? Are you talking about business resiliency? Are you talking about cyber resiliency? Because resiliency itself also has many facets.
Yeah. So what when we think about a resiliency, and you are absolutely right, there is a resiliency from a pure, let's say, a business process. There is a resiliency from how I actually do a recovery in should a specific, let's say, a site, the primary site on which I am running, that is going down, and there is also an aspect of the resiliency which is coming up and shaping up quite fast this day. It is like a cyber resiliency. So think about it. An organization is storing the data in their, let's say, S3 bucket in an object store, and the object store is getting compromised, okay?
Sure.
Or they are running certain workload in a VM, and the VM is getting compromised or about to get compromised. Now, there are two parts. How do I detect this sort of a breach that is in progress? And then how do I respond to it? And then how do I continuously maintain a sort of a security posture or a improved security posture so as to prevent this type of a recurrence of this event? So that is the third dimension of resiliency that we see.
Sure. Great. Let me understand. Look, you guys have been talking about, you have a long history of helping organizations build better disaster recovery capabilities. Is disaster recovery the same as data resiliency, cyber resiliency, business resiliency? What are all these buzzwords? Can you help unravel the distinction between each of these key terms that are being used at times interchangeably by people? Because it's important, CISOs in this room, to understand what is the distinct role that each of these resiliency capabilities will play.
Sure. Thank you, Rajneesh, for asking me that question because in my meetings that I have usually with the leaders across, like you rightly said, they use these terms interchangeably. So, yes, total IT resiliency is a significant part of business resiliency, right? And when we talk about operational resiliency, disaster resiliency, or we talk about cyber resiliency, it's not or. They all add up, they sum together towards an IT resiliency. Now, a very easy way of differentiating all three would be if you look at what is the intent behind one of the reasons for a business IT process to break down in either of these, right?
Sure.
So, intent is one factor. Then, what was the cause is the second factor. What was the impact? That's the third factor. How did you respond is the fourth factor, and what are the processes you use to recover is the fifth factor. Now, if you see, when we talk about operational resiliency, it's usually very internal to the IT department. Data corruption, disks going bad, NICs not functioning, network went down, right? So the usual resolution for that is the fact that you have equivalent copy available almost online, which can be quickly replicated, right?
Sure.
Unplanned, but very internal to the IT department. You scale this out of the organization, and we have a disaster recovery or disaster resilience, where again unplanned, but the factors were much scaled up, right? Which caused your data center to go down, for which you've already built a separate site where you already have a replica of what was here to get you back up and running. But again, you're very clear on your playbook on what things were there, what is the impact, and how do I recover, how do I respond. Coming to the third one, which is cyber resiliency, which is usually considered to be a subset of disaster recovery, because a cyber attack many a times is considered to be a part of disaster. All the 4 or 5 factors that I said completely change. One, it is not external. Two, it is all planned and not unplanned. The intent is to bring you down. Because it is planned, there is a lot of work that has gone behind it. So you will never be sure that the clean copy that I thought is always clean, is that still clean or not? right? And the intent here is that I keep on hitting the organization back again and again and again till I either disable them and I bring them down on their knees, which is not the case in the first two. So cyber recovery, if you see, right, or cyber resilience, therefore, because the attacker is different, intent is different, cause is different, damage extent is not known, so even your recovery processes are very different than the first two.
So if that is the case, tell us how would AI play an important role? Because the way I see AI and the whole security landscape, I see AI sort of also accelerating the number and severity of the attacks, especially the ransomware attacks that we're going to see that we're seeing in 2024 as well as going forward. But at the same time, it's also a very exciting technology because it provides new capabilities to become much more predictive, much more proactive, much more intuitive to understand and the patterns, the abnormal patterns, to sort of detect, that an attack could be happening. It's today not about just protecting yourself. It's about when that attack happens, how do you recover from that? So, can you
Sure.
enlighten a little bit the people in the room?
Sure.
How would AI help with that whole cyber resiliency piece, especially in the context of ransomware attacks?
Sure. So I think we have a lot of experts sitting here, and they know that how do you fight AI-based attacks with AI. So I'm not going to get onto the security part because we're not the experts there. We have experts sitting around here who would have done sufficient work around that within their data centers. But from a cyber resilience perspective, right, I can shed some light as to what we do within Commvault when it comes to AI. Now, I'm sure all of you would agree that the basic tenets for a successful AI or leveraging AI successfully is the first, data visibility. You should be able to see all the data. The second is the coverage, and the third one is consolidation, and the fourth one is, which is being practiced more and more now, is to have seamless integration of tools, reduce them in number and get them together, because then you can really have the entire data state in front of you, basis which you could use AI for multiple things. So within Commvault, AI has been there for a fairly long time, and we have been using that for driving efficiency by way of automation and optimization. We've been using AI for troubleshooting. We've been using AIs to catch threats early on the backup side and not on the production side, with
Sure.
of course help from a lot of threat intelligence which comes from our partner ecosystem, right? And then responding and engaging with them. But if we talk specifically about cyber resilience, I would break that into three categories. First is your ability to assess risk, and we use AI pretty intensively there for context sensitive data discovery, right, within the backup environment, which
Sure.
is invisible to the entire ecosystem otherwise. So I'm able to assess what is the kind of risk the organization is exposed to. Then I am also able to basis that give a recommendation, and basis automation I can even automate the response and see if I can get that correction in place.
Sure. So let me come back to you. How is AWS helping customers? How are you helping customers leverage AI in building a much more cyber resilient environment in their organizations?
Right. So, one of the major pieces that we use within all underneath, which is underpinning all our services, is a kind of intelligence which is based on the data. So, one of the example that I would quote is the guard duty, which is basically an alerting tool which talks about that is there any kind of a, sort of a potential threat actor acting within your system. It's a very coarse grain in the sense that it's a very a sort of a early posture check at a very at a broad level without getting into the specific. Now, one of the things that we use underpinning within the guard duty is that guard duty it is integrated with a number of the external threat actor site, let's say like a torch site, let's say we are integrated with CrowdStrike, and we start receiving the threat intelligence, which are pure information bytes from this external sort of the third party systems. Now, what happens is that we continuously keep on receiving, or we continuously, the service keeps on receiving the sort of the customer logs, okay, and this could be VPC logs, it could be DNS logs, and there we sort of run our AI algorithm. Mostly these algorithms are regression class algorithm to sort of identify out that how is there any kind of a malicious actor which is there in acting in which we can find in this log, which potentially matches with a finding which probably CrowdStrike has reported. Okay, so these are continuous monitoring on which AI keeps on acting, and that's one of the reason through which guard duty is able to sort of identify a potential threat actor in a matter of a few milliseconds, raise an alert, and against that alert you can further plug in your automation tool, which could be an AI or could be a simple rule based tool to essentially take a remediation action. So that's the sort of an example I can
Sure.
describe to you.
So tell us something. So, having used AI and generative AI tools and power tools capabilities, has the cyber resilience of your customers improved dramatically in the last 12 to 18 months?
Okay, so I think that is a very hard statement to say because one of the challenge with the sort of the threat landscape is that it is continuous, it is continuously evolving, and the knowledge base that we are learning. So think about it: any sort of a external threat actor, we only understand their signatures. The signature could be a hash signature. The signature could be basis on a timestamp, or the signature could be in the form of any sort of a digital fingerprint that that threat actor is leaving as a trace within the system.
Sure.
Now what we continuously do is that we continuously use sort of our pure AI detection algorithm, and these are, so there are two parts to it. One is the data accumulation, then building up the insights on the data, which creates the knowledge base. So what we have done consciously over this, let's say last, and this is a continuous process. So what we keep doing is that we keep on integrating with ourselves with the some of the largest security providers in the market. I just took the name of CrowdStrike. There are multiple other sort of a security provider who provides the signature, and we keep running our variety of algorithms on it, and this essentially is baked into our sort of the security posture hardening, let's say for our hypervisor, for protecting our network. And that is one of the way in which we sort of protect the sort of the hardware or the core infrastructure on which the customer runs their workload. So that is one of the sort of the example that I can sort of give to
Sure.
you.
Thank you so much. We've kind of almost time's up. I just want to touch on one small topic before we wrap up. What about application resiliency? Everyone talks about data resiliency. What are your thoughts on application resiliency? Is that something that CISOs and CIOs should be
Very,
concerned
very,
about?
very relevant, right? If you go in the sequence of how usually people recover, right, is bring up the clean infrastructure, and then you recover your data, and then you set up your application. So usually, if the first two are automated, this is the most time consuming part. We recently acquired a company called Apranix, right, which actually codifies this. So while your business is on, right, it will actually map your entire environment and see how your applications are functioning, what their dependencies are, and that plumbing is the one which takes maximum amount of time after you've got your applications up and running. So once you have this tool running within your environment, it becomes much more simpler for you thereafter at time of resilience to bring the whole thing up together:
Sure.
data, infra, as well as
The application.
application. But the most important point here is the readiness which people need to have, right, for the below thing to start running, which is where most of the organizations struggle today.
Great. So we'll continue this conversation over drinks and dinner because I'm about to be thrown off the stage. So thank you so much, gentlemen. It's been great talking to you. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed the conversation.
So just one point for people here, if you really want to check your security readiness of your organization for cyber resilience, please come over to our booth. We are running a short survey which can, with a few set of questions that will give you an idea whether you're really ready, right, to handle a cyber attack. And we should be thereafter continuing a much deeper conversation.
You should take up the offer.
Gentlemen, we request you to please remain on the stage for a group photograph. And thank you very much, Rajneesh, Anish, and Deepta. Please a round of cheer, everybody. I'm sure you're caffeinated, or I'm sure you're having your good teas as well. But please make sure we acknowledge our panel discussants. Thank you for making sure that we are riding in resilient there in this era that we inhabit, the cloud, AI, and ransomware. Thank you very much, Rajneesh.